Well, hello there, humans, hippies, earthlings, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and whoever you are lucky enough to be doing it too. I'm Bushka on Blitz, and I'm back with another dose of tanking joy. It's been a pretty wet, wild, hot, heavy, mad couple of weeks for me. Quite apart from hitting New York, doing the Twister Cup, having a marathon 10 or 11 hour session there, and then jumping on a Big Bird for another 24-hour flight back, then getting home and leaving almost immediately to come up to Noosa for a family holiday, which is just about finished now. It's been pedal to the metal from woe to go. And I'm going to be doing a video today that is very much a catch-up for everyone. If you've just kicked off World of Tanks Blitz and you're new to the channel, a couple of hints. There is a thing called game improvement. There's a section on my website, www.bushkaonblitz.com, and there's a game improvement section on there where I list all kinds of videos, much like this one, which are geared towards people who want to know the ins and the outs, the camo, the how it all works, that kind of thing. But that's what this is going to be. It's a much shorter video than a lot of those ones, but it's going to be very, very straightforward, and it's going to deal with things you really need to know in Blitz. One final thing. Snake Eyes is doing a podcast with me on Thursday. It's going to be a Reddit AMA style thing where people are just simply asking me questions. If you want to send a question in for that, the last ditch effort there would be on the email address askbushka@gmail.com. askbushka@gmail.com. Snake's running that one. I don't get to see him until he asks. We're also going to talk about the Twister Cup and many other things. What am I doing here in the E50M? Well, I'm using this bush to cover me up, give me a much greater camo level than I would have otherwise, and also using the edge of the hill here to go hull down and bounce shots. Now you can see I'm going back and forth behind the bush. It takes about 9.5 seconds to reset your camo. Look at that. Angling the tank, using the hill, obscuring his view, and just really strong position here. And these are the kind of positions you want to be looking for when you're running sniping tanks, or you're running tanks that are on a flank and you're looking to shoot. If you can see some soft cover around, it will really improve your chances of living. And living allows you to do more damage and allows you to win more often. Other things that allow you to win more often are shooting tracks. You can see that T62A there is tracked. I track him again, and I'm going to blow my adrenaline here to get this done. You're going to see, as long as a tank is tracked, and I know this is Tanking 101, but for those of you who just joined us, as long as a tank is tracked, it cannot move. You shoot tanks in the tracks in their drive wheels. The drive wheels are the small wheels at either end of a tank. Another big thing is brawling. When you are brawling in a tank, this is the simplest and most underrated and easily done move in the game. It's the in and the away. Now, all I'm going to do when I do this move is drive along in one direction, pull back the other direction, and as the Leopard PTA tracks me with his turret, you're going to see him start tracking. Now, he's probably zoomed in. A lot of people zoom in when they're in this situation. I'm going to go forward. Now, I'm going to pull immediately back, and as soon as he starts turning back towards me, I'm going forward again. And it wrong foots them often, and it will usually get you an extra shot. Something to remember if you are just starting to drive mediums, driving forward, backwards, etc. Another thing to remember, if you have high explosive ammunition and you can pen enough to use it on the back of a tank, use it. Particularly American tanks, they have 50 millimeters of armor at times on the back of their tanks, and that should always be utilized. So remember to ammo switch. It's all well and good to be able to pen them from the front, but if you can pen them with HE, start learning the low caliber guns that you're using will change to 100 and 120 millimeter guns as you move up these trees, and they have fairly hefty high explosive penetration values. Even the 100 millimeter guns do. So learn them, move onwards and upwards. Another thing you're going to need to learn in brawling is to keep track of multiple targets at once. You're going to see I'm going to pump up here in just a second, be really, really aggressive. The reason I'm being really, really aggressive is because I've got a whole lot of big dogs coming up behind me. And I figure that I can actually be a little bit nasty. Now, I make a big mistake here. There's only 3 enemy tanks spotted, 4 enemy tanks, 5 enemy tanks spotted, not 7. When I push up here, I don't really know where everyone on the enemy team is. I think there's a chance to isolate the T-62A and be aggressive, and I feel like if we get trapped in this corner, things are going to go badly. So what I'm going to do is try and reset that camo and then roll straight up here at the 263, pop out before he can get a shot at me, and he's not there anyway, which should have caused me to worry straight away, and roll down here and try and get this 62A. Now I'm going low and slow, but you see that IS-7 has popped, so I'm keeping an eye on multiple targets. I'm staying in the bottom of this ditch until the IS-7 gets there, and then I'm reversing and getting out. I'm going to use the IS-7 to really screw with the targeting of that 62A. Keeping on going around, I track that 263, which stops him from getting around the corner. Try and track him again, but I miss the track. Now you saw earlier, if you track tanks, you keep them stationary, and the 263 had to bail, but he couldn't push on me, simply because there was a whole bunch of tanks behind me. There is a 62A here who was a one-shot. We have moved along and flanked, and now, despite the fact that we have very few hit points, we are behind the Object 263, and we will kill the Object 263 as he comes around without giving the IS-7 a shot, and we'll be all the better for it. So learn to track multiple targets at once, and you'll be far better off. The final lesson for the day is, what kind of tank are you driving? You might consider that you have a play style in your tank or a play style in your game that is unique and you are special and you should not have to adjust it for anyone. And I like running into people like you because you're pretty bloody easy to kill. If you're driving a Leopard PTA in a Tier X game, you don't want to get stuck up here. I've gone there for a very specific reason. We've got 3 mediums, they've got 2 mediums. I don't want to have my mediums isolated up here. Now that I have given them the impression that all 3 of our mediums are right at the front line, sorry, not a Leopard PTA, Leopard 1, I'm going to push very, very hard to the back while staying on this right-hand side so I can't be respotted, and my camo is such that I'm able to pull out here, going to climb the hill behind them, and then I'm going to rain unholy death on them. Now, what I'm talking about with knowing your tank is the Leopard 1 has very, very poor armor. It has an incredibly accurate gun, which is basically the gold standard at Tier X for, you know, sniping weapons. And you can see here that I am now in an elevated position. The camouflage of my tank is such that they won't see me, and I'm able to pump damage quite merrily after already moving to the front of the line. So if you're in a tank that's a sniper tank or doesn't have good ammo or isn't a heavy tank, and you're playing aggressively, you're just giving people like me an advantage over you. Use the tank to the best of its abilities, and it's one of the reasons why I feel like I'm a little bit more positive about tanks than most people, and I get less blow-ups in my game a bit than most people, because if I'm in an FV4202 or an Leopard 1 or a Grill 15 or an IS-7, I'm going to drive them all in distinctly different ways. And I'm going to drive them in a way that I feel gives them a chance to be really, really successful. And that's what you should be doing in your gameplay. Don't get pigeonholed into always being a guy that's aggressive. Don't get pigeonholed into always being a guy that snipes. Become someone who is flexible. If you watch the recent Twister Cup, you would realize, and you see I'm going for tracks again. Tracking tanks makes life easy for everyone else on your team. Always try to track enemy tanks. Now, that was a bit of a mistake. I should have hit the E75 there. He was a one-shot kill, and it would have helped, but we won in the end anyway. If you would have seen the recent Twister Cup, which I'm going to talk about on Thursday, the team that won it was, in my opinion, the best team there, and that was C4, the Russian team. And what they did better than any other team in the competition, and it was pretty obvious for someone that watched every single game and commentated on it, was they flexed better than the rest of the guys there. They were able to both deal with the super aggressive play of teams like ID, and the structured play of teams like Premo and Legion and the like. And they were the best and most flexible team in the competition. If you can be flexible like that in your gameplay, be the bully in an IS-7, be the finesse tanker in a Leopard 1, be the hull down monster in a T-62. Play all these tanks in different ways. If you can be flexible like that in your gameplay, you will win more and you will have more fun whilst doing it. Don't get pigeonholed into one solid style of play. You have to get the tank and let it do its work the way it knows best. For a Leopard 1, that can be flanking, it can be running around the sides, it can be sniping, but it's got speed and mobility on its side. Use that. Make the most of it. If you've got a strong turret, get into hull down positions. Learn to be a hull down fighter. It's going to take you a lot of games to do all these kinds of things, and if you're just starting out, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Why don't you go along to bushkaonblitz.com, hit up the game improvement section there, and there is all kinds of things. There's it's all YouTube videos, but it's all gathered together. It's stuff about driving light tanks, things about driving heavies, driving mediums, driving TDs, map stuff. It's just lots and lots of stuff there. Anyway, there's also a sponsors section there which you get to access with the private videos when you become a patron. And there's a link there somewhere for those who want to become patrons. I'm Bushka on Blitz. You're bloody lovely. Can't wait to get stuck back into it. Until next time, look after your families and stay safe on the battlefield.